All right, 5 proven steps to stop an affair in your marriage. Not only we're talking about 5 proven steps, we're talking about the only way to achieve this long term, right? There are many ways to stop an affair in terms of threatening your wife, trying to be controlling, doing all kinds of unhealthy stuff. But when we're talking about long-term success, where not only the affair stops, but she will never want to do it again because she has no need to look that way, that's the kind of approach that we're talking about today. So we're super excited to dive into this. We genuinely believe it is the only way to long-term stop an affair. So pay close attention. All right, we're going to go into the steps. Step number 1, understand why and how an affair happens. So you need to understand the types of affairs. Typically, there's 2: physical affair, emotional affair. Obviously, for a lot of men, most scary is physical affair. That's when the wife is having physical intimacy with somebody else outside of the marriage. Emotional affair is when the wife is seeking emotional support outside of the marriage. Now, this could be a man, this could be a woman, right? She could be getting this extra emotional support from another woman or another man. Obviously, for men, the most scary part is when it's from another man. Now, these 2 are very related, okay? And the reason why I say this is because a woman doesn't wake up from one day to the other and has a physical affair. It builds up to that. And the way this works is emotional needs are not fulfilled. It is your job as a husband to fulfill her emotional needs, okay? Not the other way around. She's not responsible for your emotional needs. You should be getting that from healthy masculine relationships, okay? So you're not fulfilling her emotional needs. Well, because it's a need for her, it's part of the feminine, she now has to go outside and get it fulfilled somewhere else. Again, this could be a woman or a man. Now let's go with the scary scenario where it's a man, okay? So when she fulfills her emotional needs through another man outside of marriage, you got to understand, what does that man want? That man wants to have sex with her. That man wants to have physical intimacy with her. That's what he's going for. So he will fulfill her emotional needs, even if it's not long lasting. Now, when those emotional needs are fulfilled long term, or for a while at least, she at some point will need to reciprocate that. And what's the best way to reciprocate it? Well, by giving the man what he wants, which is to have physical intimacy. Okay?
And Andre, sorry, just on that point as well, Andre,
Yeah.
like when we go back and we've spoken about it in previous videos about how men take action and then feel a certain way afterwards, right? If the wife is getting that, the feelings of emotional support and this safe place to express her emotions, she'll take an action based on those feelings. And the action for her is intimacy. And in this case, intimacy with this other man. But the same logic applies when, hey, it's your wife. Okay, if you provide the safe space emotionally for her and she feels a certain way, the intimacy component is far more likely because of the feelings.
Yeah. So accurate. Yeah. That's a great reminder, because it adds in and starts to have you understand why she takes those actions and where those actions come from. So couple what John said with the fact that it's a need for her emotional needs to be fulfilled. And now you can see she feels suffocated, deprived, her emotional needs are not being met, and she's in her feelings, and her feelings, guide her to go and get that met somewhere else. All right. And now the interesting thing about this, though, it's not stable, it's not reliable. And what I mean by that is, 9 out of 10 affairs do not last. And they don't last because it's not a strong foundation, right? There were voids in the wife, and she went to get those voids fulfilled by the man. The man had some needs or voids, and she's fulfilling them. It's a spur of the moment kind of relationship. However, When physical affair takes place, most cases um, it is after the emotional needs have been proven to get fulfilled by that man. Okay, if that man was not successful fulfilling her emotional needs, it wouldn't translate to a physical affair. Now, is there an opportunity where your wife goes out and has a crazy night, gets a little bit too drunk, and maybe some physical intimacy happens? Potentially, maybe. But in her conscious mind, it's not something that the feminine is comfortable doing. Just getting up and going out and, oh my God, my husband's being an asshole. Now I'm going to go and cheat on him. It doesn't really work that way. It almost always starts with the emotional affair part. Um, Now, here's the other thing too. The It's a lot easier for a woman to go back to an established relationship than to rebuild something from scratch with a new man, which is another reason why emotional affairs don't last. They don't have a strong foundation. And if the husband is doing what he needs to do and steps up, then it's a lot more inviting for her to come back now that you're fulfilling those emotional needs versus rebuilding, restarting something. Because it's not an if, but it's a when the other man's insecurities bullets will come out. And when the curtains fall, because the love and the heat and the spur of the moment is gone after months or a couple of years, then that other man will show his true self, which your wife will not like. So um, critical step: understand the types of affairs and understand how they relate to each other and what the chronology is that takes place. Emotional needs are not fulfilled because you're not doing your job as a husband. This is your job. She then has to go seek it outside, so she goes somewhere else to seek emotional support. And if it's a man and it gets fulfilled properly, then it can lead to physical intimacy.
Yeah, as you said, it may get fulfilled properly in the short term, but it's not a long-term solution. And just backing up to your point around, uh, it takes a lot of effort to start something new with somebody new. That's when it's just a husband and wife. Like if you put kids into that equation, for a woman to try and start something new, and at the weekends come and see
Yeah.
you, the ex-husband, to hand over the kids, or to continue that co-parenting. Now there's a lot more at stake with respect to the logistics of what her future life looks like, having an ex-husband and not just a new boyfriend, right? So um, as I said, it's not just about emotionally getting into a new relationship. It's also around, you know, this man, my kid's father, will be in the picture for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. 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 And that's where having kids just changes the whole game. When you don't have kids with your wife, there's a lot more flexibility in what you can do. Um, and still lot of growth available, but there are less choices available when children are involved, because now you're playing with their life. You're putting them on the line. So
And and we're not suggesting that the kids be leveraged as, hey, how can you do this
yeah,
to the kids? That's not what we're saying. What we're
yeah,
saying is, okay, there were inside the picture that is your relationship with your wife. But some men who have also had kids with that woman, that's another big component that's in the picture. But as I said, it's not an access point for you to try and, well, how could she do this to the kids? No, in 100% responsibility, you're doing this to the kids because you've lacked in leadership previously. Can you change that going forward? Yes, of course you can. That's what the bulletproof husband is all built around, and see men being successful in doing that and changing that who they are and their leadership in their relationship going forward. That's why it's a success.
yeah. And it's the feelings part too that you were talking about. It's like, the ego has to be put aside, because when kids are involved, choices are a lot less. You have a great obligation, and coupled that with John saying don't leverage the kids for that kind of conversation, but your context should be, hey, okay, I get it. I may be pissed at my wife. I may not like what she's doing, but I gotta alter something because my kids need our family united, right? All right. Step number 2, give her the freedom just like if you were already divorced. So giving her the level of freedom just like if you were already divorced means that you let go of control. If you are having marriage challenges and you're trying to rebuild your marriage and you try to do some stuff, you already know control doesn't work. Your wife is her separate own entity. You cannot control another human being. You can only control the actions you take and the influence that that drives in enrolling others into your leadership. Okay? The less you control, the better. The less you confront her, the better. Okay? Now, one of the things that this will require is some work on yourself, because us saying give her the level of freedom just like if you were already divorced, like that's a scary thought, letting go of that muzzle, if you will. But it works wonders because it creates curiosity in her eyes. She's used to being controlled, whether it's emotionally, financially, mentally, hopefully not physically, but you never know what the dynamics are. And the more you focus on you, the more, how should I say this? Because there's a lot of talk about focusing on yourself. But coming from this context, when we're talking about freedom, you need to be free yourself, have the level of confidence, emotional stability to then be able to give her that freedom. Okay? But as soon as you chain her down, as soon as you confront her, as soon as you put the GPS in her car, as soon as you have cameras going in the house, as soon as you're following the boyfriend, all of those things that men do from a place of jealousy, you're going down a rabbit hole that's not only not going to save your marriage, you're going to accelerate the process to blowing up your marriage. And you're demonstrating to your wife that her choice is the right choice because the control remains, the lack of freedom, she's losing her identity, right? So what you want to focus on here is to double down on you recreating some of your foundations on the emotional side and on the confidence side, so that then you can give her that freedom.
Yeah, and as I said, when a man gets that slap, right? The wife has been thinking about it for 2+ years. So now she's getting to that point. She's had the courage. She gives the man a slap. She wants out. Like she's emotionally checked out. So on one hand, she sees, hey, I have all this freedom available to me, that perceived freedom available to me, if I just continue and execute on this divorce. Right? So she's looking at that going, okay, that's where I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to that freedom away from being controlled by this guy. So the more you try and control her today, even though the inevitability of, if I get a divorce, my wife can do whatever she wants to do at 2 a.m. We're divorced. I don't no longer have a right to know. Not even that I have a right to know today, but I lose all access or all right to know what she wants to do at 2 a.m. in the morning. So the more I push her towards that by being controlling here, because I'm looking for clarity or I'm looking for security for me, you're just accelerating her towards where you actually don't want her to get to. But the more what her life today looks like that can generate freedom for her, generate that perceived freedom of, okay, he's not asking me where I'm going at 2 a.m. He's not asking me who I'm text messaging on the couch. He still cares. He's still involved in conversations.
Yeah.
But he's not forcing me to, reveal all of my cards when, as I said, she's checked out. So it's chicken and egg. You're trying to prevent her getting to one place, so you control her in this current situation, and you end up accelerating her towards where you're actually not trying to go, not trying for her to get to.
Yeah, and some of you might even think you're not controlling, but I mean, most of divorces happen because of some level of control, uh, whether it's control over finances, time, emotions, whatever that may be. And she thinks the grass is greener on the other side as she's running away from this. Now, in most cases, grass is not greener on the other side, but she won't know that until she's on the other side. And you don't want her to get to the other side, right? You want her to feel free and her own person, her own identity within, uh, your kingdom that you've built, your family, versus pushing her that way. All right, let's look at step 3. Okay, become emotionally self-sufficient. Um, your job is to fulfill her emotional needs. How it's kind of like how can you do that if you are not emotionally stable yourself? It's kind of like, um, I want you to build a house for me, or you come to me and say, I want to build you a house, but you've never built a house before, but I'm going to build you one. There's no foundation for you to make that statement. There's no foundation for you to execute on that, right? So this is one of the reasons why you need to get emotionally self-sufficient, because how can you provide emotional self-sufficiency to somebody else? There's no empathetic aspect of it where you can actually take care of her needs that way. The second reason is your reactions. One of the key elements to having emotional safety and security, which by far is the most important to a woman in a marriage, by far, okay? You might think finances are. Yeah, finances do have an impact, but emotional self-sufficiency or emotional safety and security by far is the most important to a woman, okay? By far. We have millionaires in our program, and we have men who can barely make it from month to month. The commonality is lack of emotional safety and security, okay? Why does somebody who has lots of money and can buy whatever they want for their wife not have their marriage work? And why is it that somebody who can barely live month to month don't have their marriage work, right? What is the common thread there? It's lack of emotional safety and security towards the wife. When you're attempting to provide emotional safety and security to your wife, her reactions are on a huge scale, right? Angry, frustrated, sad, crying, happy, anything in between on that spectrum. You need to be able to handle that. And if you're not emotionally self-sufficient, you won't be able to handle that. If you can't handle that, you're going to react to it. If you react to it, you are now cutting off your process of providing emotional safety and security, because the big part of that is that she can say and do whatever she wants. You are the bull. You are rock solid, consistent, reliable. You are present. She gets that you're present. You are able to not only listen, but hear what she's actually saying. Okay, you're able to reiterate it to her. And she gets that you're fully there in the conversation. And she gets that you're able to not react and withstand no matter how harsh she comes, right? Because it's not an argument until you both are engaged. So her losing her shit, her yelling and screaming, that's not an issue until you engage. And the way for you not to get engaged is to not get triggered by it. The way for you not to get triggered by it is to pull your bullets and become emotionally self-sufficient. Because when you do that, then the things she'll say to you or do to you simply won't trigger you, which is a huge sense of freedom for you and relief. Okay, when you have that kind of stability, and it allows her to express. When she can express, she can figure out her feelings. When she figures out her feelings, then she can adjust her actions. Okay, because a woman doesn't know what her feelings mean. They figure it out in the expression of the feeling. Okay, really important.
Yeah, and here we're chatting about the emotional self-sufficiency. And is there other self-sufficiencies that a man, or other areas, domains that a man needs to become self-sufficient? But specifically around this, rebuilding trust with your wife, creating that safe space, your emotional stability has a huge impact on her emotional stability. So yes, financial self-sufficiency, physical self-sufficiency, spiritual self-sufficiency, all of those areas are important. But just in relation to creating that safe space for her, this is a huge component of all of those domains that dramatically influence your ability to create that space for her.
Yeah, you're right, and it's not even about neglecting the others. It's just the biggest bang for your buck is really the emotional stuff. The others are critical; they're important as well. Um, but if you want the fastest impact with your wife, the fastest noticeable change, it's focusing on the emotional side. Emotional side for you as a man by pulling your bullets and becoming emotionally self-sufficient, and emotional side on her end, right? Being able to create that emotional safety and security. This has the biggest change by far. By far.
It has the biggest impact, but it may also have the biggest impact to him. If he's Okay, so as I said, the wife has been working on this relationship for 2+ years. She's already checked out. She's seen you make changes in the past. She's seen you change for those couple of weeks or a couple of months, and then you go back to your old ways. Now, if you really take it in and go, okay, I got to double down on my emotional work because that's going to have the most impact. Well, you got to be ready for it. May also impact your confidence uh, when she starts rejecting you.
Yeah.
So, as much as the other domains, you can build a lot of confidence by increasing your physical self-sufficiency,
Yeah.
and by doing that, it's going to really help your emotional self-sufficiency as well. So, as Andre said, it's not about neglecting the other components or other domains. This is a big factor with respect to where your end goal with your wife is. But the other domains also select components of the other domains also have a big impact on how you're going to become self-sufficient emotionally.
Yeah, huge intertwining between them, right? Where they impact that. I mean, if you're making more money, you're feeling more confident. If you have financial stability, you're feeling more confident and you're feeling better. Your emotionality is better too, right? If you're going to the gym and you're being physical, that also contributes. If you have spiritual stuff, right? You believe in God or you believe in the universe or whatever it is you believe in, but you have a set of systems or a system of beliefs spiritually, then that will also bring you peace. And I think everyone gets the point. But yeah, they're connected. All right. Number 4, master masculine communication with her. This is a cool one. So obviously these are steps, right? So they are in order, which means that you can't really do step number 4 until you've done step 1, 2, 3, right? Because they're building blocks on each other. And mastering masculine communication requires a very high degree of emotional self-sufficiency. And reason for that is because now not only you're present and listening and hearing, you are now intentionally bringing things out of her to further deepen and demonstrate and prove to her that emotional safety and security is there. That no, not only you're not shying away from it, you're not just sitting there as a robot, right? Listening. You're actually engaged and you're asking the right questions. You're reaffirming the appropriate things that matter to her, and you can catch those things. Um, Now, this is critical because, like, think from your wife's perspective. She's expecting the opposite. You have trained your wife over the years to have you react a certain way? She says XYZ, you react this way, or you behave a certain way. Well, you got to now undo that training. And it becomes a radical shift where when your wife is sharing deep stuff or things that used to trigger you, and not only you're not getting triggered or just standing there as a robot listening, you are now opening your arms and inviting her in. Share more with me. Share more with me. And I got these questions for you that I can ask in a way where you'll want to share more. And it will cause more frustration. It will cause more anger for your wife. And she'll express those things. Again, you're not shying away. You're continuing to embrace her. You're continuing to bring her in, right? That's a huge contrast between how you've trained her to expect your behavior and how you're actually showing up now. It's like a 180-degree turn. And what it does, it creates curiosity. Because now your wife says, holy shit, like how is this possible? How is he not reacting? How is he not screaming? How is he not walking out of the door? Why is he not interrupting me anymore? Why is he not cutting me off? Right? Why is he not trying to justify or over-explain the topic that we're talking about? He's actually calmly sitting there, listening to me, hearing me, reaffirming how I'm feeling, inviting me by asking questions, which is getting me more pissed. What is going on? I don't understand. What is happening? Like that's the impact, right? That it can have on your wife when you do this radical shift. And this is one of the reasons why I'm saying you being emotionally self-sufficient, it has such a big impact on all areas of your life. Like outside of marriage too, but even within the marriage, right? How you're holding yourself, how you're communicating, right? How you're waking up in the morning and approaching your day, the context you're holding. And communication has probably one of the biggest impacts. There are others that will have big impact, but communication is huge because most arguments come from communication. When all of a sudden there's no arguments because you're no longer engaging and reacting and getting triggered, it's a huge relief. And it creates immediate safety and security for your wife.
Yeah, and that frustration, right? You can picture she's now getting this attention from you. She's getting that curiosity, and one of her initial responses would be, "Why now? Why did it take all of this time? Why did it take all
So
of this
common.
pain? Why did it take all of this emotion on her part
Yeah.
for you to get here? Like, why did she have to sacrifice so much?" And going back to what I said earlier, yeah, you will have a history of doing things in the short term in relation to her.
Yeah.
And because you've done that time and time again, it's going to take more for her to trust you.
Yeah.
And she is going to test to see, hey, is this just another quick fix that I know Joe has done multiple times in the past? Or can I actually start to trust that he has finally got it? He has finally has the ability to actually fulfill the needs that I have. So it's we've seen it so many times, but you can start to fully understand where the frustration comes from initially from her, and then it's towards, okay, what can I actually trust? How sustainable is this? Because the questions you ask, it's not a list of, here were 20 questions that you should ask them in this order. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is your ability to ask questions is purely based on, hey, you're actually present in the conversation.
Yeah.
You're actually curious. It's not about asking a predefined set of questions, looking for a predefined set of answers. It's you being so present, you know what questions to ask. And as I said, from a place of curiosity. And the reason we keep going back to curiosity is because when you're just curious about something, you don't have a predefined expectation of what the answer needs to be. You're not looking for an exact premeditated answer that's going to fit
It's not a
your agenda.
script.
Yeah, it's not going
Yeah.
to fit your agenda. It's
Yeah.
curious about, hey, I am curious about how this occurs to her. I am curious about, what are some of her challenges at work.
Yeah. And you can only step on into this like curiosity context if there's no threat, right? The reason why you engage in an argument with your wife is because what she's saying or doing is a threat to you. And your insecurities are seeing it as a threat. So then you, boom, start to execute your survival behaviors. But if there's no threat, now you have the open slate to actually go and create some curiosity and actually be curious about your wife, what's going on for her, and ask the right questions. Also, it's important that you get that. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but we'll slip it in because it's important. You want to have masculine relationships, healthy masculine relationships, right? Because when you're mastering this, when you're going down this path and you're becoming emotionally self-sufficient, boosting your confidence, improving your communication, it's not a light switch where, okay, I'm going to read this and do this and I'm master at it. No, it's going to take practice. You need a support structure while you have that practice, because there are certain things you'll want to say to your wife that you shouldn't share with her. But your men, your healthy masculine relationships are a good place to share that. They'll give you feedback. They won't judge you. They understand where you're coming from, right? So that's a small sidestep, but keep component to support you in this journey, because you're going to have feelings and those feelings need to be dealt with, right? So that you're in a healthy space, emotional space, going back. Even when you're pulling bullets, you're getting rid of your insecurities, new stuff will happen that will create new feelings. You have to manage those too. You have to be in control of those too. And having a healthy masculine support structure will do that.
Yeah, and that just links back into that emotional self-sufficiency for the man, right? Like you made reference earlier to, so many arguments happen as a result of communication. And it's even a level deeper than that. It's so many arguments happen as a result of being triggered and communicating. It's the communication that occurs after somebody is triggered, which causes the arguments. If they're met with somebody who's also triggered, right? It's like the opposites attract, but the same just keep repelling, right? Likes repel. And it's the same. If she's triggered by something and as a result, you get triggered by something, now it's just rebelling off each other, causing those arguments.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Step 5. Pass her tests in fulfilling her emotional needs. So, if it wasn't hard enough already in understanding, the differences around the different affairs, and then how they happen, what leads to them, this idea of emotional safety and security being the most important for her, you being emotionally secure and being able to communicate from that. Now, her tests, which are a shit show, okay? Because safety and security is the most important for a woman in a marriage, what she will do is conduct tests. These tests are there to measure the level of safety and security. Okay? When you pass the test, you're communicating to her that it's safe and secure. When you don't pass the tests, you're communicating to her that it's not safe and secure, and then you're reinforcing the reasons why she should leave, separate, or cheat, or get her emotional needs fulfilled somewhere else. And it's critical that you understand this concept. Now, a lot of men get pissed at this. Why are we playing games? Why does she have to do this test? Listen, you can get pissed at it. You have your option to do that, but it's not going to move the needle. It's just not how the feminine works, right? Your approach to it is masculine. Hey, why do I have to look for signs? I'll just tell you directly. Hey, why do we have to play these games? Pass her tests. I don't need tests, right? That's the masculine approach. But the feminine operates differently. And so she will conduct tests. And here's the interesting part. The more she sees you changing and the more curious she becomes around what is going on, why are you not behaving the way I'm used to, the more she will test you. And the harder her tests will become. And these tests can be hard, bringing up divorce, bringing up how much fun she had with her affair partner, presenting separation papers, staying out late at night on purpose, which she's never done, right? So these tests can be really, really hard tests. And if you're not emotionally self-sufficient to pass them, you're going to react. And that's exactly what she wants. But if you are emotionally self-sufficient, you'll pass them with flying colors, which is great. Okay. Now, there's two important things to understand about tests. It has a chronology to it as well. And what I mean by that is when she first starts testing you, she wants you to fail. She is testing out of anger, resentment, confusion, and she wants you to fail miserably because she's gathering evidence for herself to justify why separating you, divorcing you, cheating on you, leaving you is a good decision. So she's gathering evidence towards that. Now, when you've passed her tests enough in this phase, eventually her intention to test you will transform into something else where she wants you to test or pass the test. So she'll go from, I want you to fail, but then I have enough doubt that, holy cow, these changes must be real. Like this is great to see. My anger is going away. I'm feeling more emotionally safe and secure, but I'm still not there. Trust still hasn't been fully fulfilled or rebuilt. So I got to do more tests, but I really want him to pass because what I'm seeing, I like. That's what's going through her mind. Okay. And this is a beautiful place to be in because it's proving a few things. One, you're rebuilt enough emotional self-sufficiency for you. You're creating enough emotional safety and security. Your sharings are probably more frequent. Okay. She's probably sharing more intimate stuff, but she'll throw in tests still. And she's really hoping you're going to pass them.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to trust him. Then she starts to realize, okay, like it's been a month, it's been 2 months. So it raises the question, can I trust him? And then it leads to, I want to trust him. Mm-hmm. And the step after that is, okay, I can trust him. Like there's enough tests, and it's not like all the tests are. We've made reference to, when you're driving your car, how much of it is now so subconscious, like you're not even thinking about it. So with respect to her tests, it's not like they're all premeditated tests. It's just emotionally, subconsciously, there are tests being put out there, and subconsciously and emotionally, it's gathering evidence or it's gathering realizations as a result.
It's instinctual measure of safety and security. It comes instinctually. Some are intentional, some are not.
Right, exactly. But it's not, again, no different to what we were saying about the list of premeditated questions. A lot of the tests are not premeditated, but emotionally, subconsciously, she's gathering that data.
Yeah. And I guess the emotions fueling behind these two phases of tests, I'd say, in the first phase where she wants you to fail, it's more anger. And then in the second phase where she wants you to pass, it's more from a place of love and hope. Those would be the character traits of what's going through her mind when she gets to that. Now, this isn't really even a step, if I'm being totally honest, because if you've done step 1 to 4, this takes care of itself. But it's still a step because it's going to happen and you need to be aware of it. You need to be aware that these tests are real, they happen, what their purpose is, how to pass them, where what they're motivated by on her side, right? And once you start looking at this as a test, your understanding and confidence around her actions will also start to transform. Okay. And there's a rule of thumb that we teach at TBH, which is if you don't know what she's doing or why she's doing it, assume it's a test, because then for sure you'll pass, right? If you don't know for sure why she's doing what she's doing, why she's saying what she's saying, assume it's a test, which is really cool, because then it'll keep you on the right side of the tracks, if you will.
Yeah, and it's you can perceive it as a test from her side, which it is, and it's also a test for you as an opportunity to, hey, how are you going to turn up inside this test for you? Are you being the man you've always wanted to be, or are you being the insecure man? Are you being the old version of you? Or are you being the controlling version of you? So you do have the opportunity, as I said, to look at it and internalize it as, okay, I have an opportunity here right now to see how far I've moved the needle.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making progress in the direction that I want to move to? And by coupling that with, okay, this is a test on her part, the end result leads to a great place when you do pass those tests. And if you don't pass the test and you actually pay attention to what where did I go off track? What did I get triggered by? You created another opportunity for yourself to go work on something, so that the next time that test comes up, you have a higher probability of actually passing it. You have a higher probability of moving towards and actually being the man you've always wanted to be. And again, going back to a previous topic of, willpower, I hope you men can see how limiting willpower is with respect to trying to continuously pass tests. You already know you have a finite amount of willpower. Yeah, you might pass the first part of the test. Oh, I went out last night. Okay, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't ask where she was, don't ask where she was. And then she, oh, I had such a great time with this guy. Okay, don't ask who it was, don't ask who it was, don't ask who it was. Oh, I didn't come home till 6 a.m. And then willpower is run out and you just flip the lid. So self-sufficiency, emotional self-sufficiency will trump willpower time and time and time again. It's the only access.
Yeah. Only permanent access, right?
Right.
And only access where, when I say permanent, I'm not just saying long term, but I'm also saying requires the least maintenance, because for your willpower to be high, you have to do something about it to get it high each time. Once you've permanently dealt with some of the insecurities that are causing you to react, like it's just not going to be there. And if they're not there, they're not going to threaten you. The threat won't be there, whether it's from your wife or anybody else. Hey, listen, if what you're hearing like makes sense and it sounds good, and it's something that you're experiencing and you want to get a mastery in, I want to invite you to join our membership at bulletproofhusband.com. If you're not ready for that and you want a deep dive, but you're not ready to commit to that level, then I want to give you a free book. John and I want to give you a free book, okay? Just pay for shipping. Put book in the comments, and what we'll do is we'll shoot you a link that allows you to order the book. This is a hard copy book, 330 pages, details a lot of our membership, and written by one of our success stories. It's a really, really, really deep dive, okay, into a lot of the strategies that we're talking about here on these lives, including the affair stuff, all of the concepts, all of these steps, like detailed out. So put book in the comments and we'll go from there. Okay, now I want to talk about another topic, which is use the trigger strategy. Okay, now what is that? We talked about, this relates to the previous topic, because we talked about how your wife tests you. And one of the things you want to do when you're communicating with your wife is to have her fully express all of the resentment inside her. See, when you haven't fulfilled your wife's emotional needs, which is your job, for years, she has all this pent-up resentment. That has to be let out. Now, she needs to feel safe to do that in the beginning, you're not creating the safety yet. But one of the things that does happen often is her getting pissed and getting triggered. I want you to understand that you can trigger her even more on purpose so that in that outburst, she lets out all her anger and resentment. This is super valuable because it allows you to demonstrate that you're not reacting, you're not getting triggered, you're there to listen, you're being a solid bull. And in the meanwhile, what's happening is it's allowing her to pull her bullets, if that makes sense. Because women have bullets too. They have insecurities also. The way they deal with it is different than men, the way men deal with it, but you can support her and be on her side and create the space for her to deal with it. And one of the best ways to do that is to create the space for her to let out that anger, resentment, frustration pent up over the years. Okay? And it will look scary. She will say things about you that you don't like, that you don't want to hear. You know, it might even trigger you if you haven't achieved emotional self-sufficiency. And we have some strategies that we can explore around how to deal with that. If you are triggered in the moment, what to do with that. But it's really critical that you do this because it's like a kickstart. It's like a jump start. Okay, my wife is not really communicating with me. She's not really sharing anything with me. She's emotionally closed off. I know she's pissed at me. She's angry. She's sad. She's resentful. Well, use the trigger strategy to ask the right questions. Apply this so that you can start getting all that venom out of her. And so she can lay it all out on you. It will give her a relief, and you'll actually get an insight what she's been holding back and keeping down. It's a scary spot, but very, very rewarding.
Yeah, it's rewarding. And what we're talking about isn't for somebody that got it to slap yesterday. Like there is a volume of work that needs to be done before you have an opportunity to actually be solid, consistent, and reliable in using this strategy. Right, as I said, if you bottom out in relation to where your confidence is at, if you're maybe even in a hotel room because she's kicked you out, or you're not sure when you're going to see your kids again, this isn't an out the gate strategy that you should focus on. You need to focus on doing many of the other components around rebuilding yourself. Otherwise, this is just going to be another heightened argument. It's
If
not,
you
as I
get
said, it's
triggered,
not.
it's not going
Yeah,
to work.
it's not going
Yeah.
to be a test. It's not going to be a test that you can actually pass, because confidence and emotional self-sufficiency are key components in your ability to be successful in this.
Yep. Yeah. And it relates back to the testing stuff that we've talked about, right? Like passing these tests are the biggest bang for your buck because they're the most aggressive, they're the most loud, they're the most scary, they have the most labels on you, right? And like I said, this happens in the kind of like the first phase where her testings are coming from anger. So the more you pass these tests in the beginning, the more angry and frustrated she will get. Okay. Now, eventually, in that venom session, let's call that, all this will clear out. But in the next one, same thing. The fact that you're now second time passing and you're not reacting the way you usually react, that's going to frustrate her. It's going to get her more confused. What's going on? I don't understand. Okay, I'm really going to take him through the ringer. I'm going to throw out divorce. I'm going to throw out cheating. I'm going to throw out this. I'm going to throw out that. I need him to get triggered. How do I do that? Okay, boom, boom, boom. And then it all starts. Scary, very frustrating for her, but so cool in rebuilding trust, in creating chaos in a way, right? Because it's creating chaos if you really think about it, right? It's chaos in the relationship. She thought there was chaos, but now it's like, who is this man? What's going on? Why isn't he reacting the way that he should be, right? So you keep passing her tests until she can no longer test you. What does that mean? Well, she trusts you in that area. Let's say she's used to you when you're talking about what example can I come up with? Let's say you're talking about fathering and what kind of a bad father you are. And she starts throwing stuff at you, gathering evidence, pulling things out from her list. And she's losing her shit because, she thinks the kids are not taken care of, blah, blah, blah. Or communication around intimacy, physical intimacy, right? Or communication around some of the chores around the house, or where you guys are financially. Choose any topic. And she keeps bringing these up. And let's say you used to keep defending and over explaining and interrupting her. And it leads to an argument because you try to prove that she's wrong and she's trying to prove that you're wrong, right? And all of a sudden, you no longer do that. Days go by, she keeps testing you, She will test you up until she's convinced that this new behavior of you being in the communication this way is permanent. Where she's convinced that, okay, wow, this man is here for, this new version of him is here for the long term. I have put him through the ringer. He's not cracking. He's not failing. I've thrown divorce at him. I've thrown cheating. I've come home late. I did everything I could in my testing arena. And he's not cracking. He's being consistent, solid, and reliable. That's when the tests will stop. Occasionally, once in a while, she may throw some in, which is usually an indication that you're slipping back into old behaviors. But once she doesn't have a need to test you because you're no longer doing those things, and she's convinced of that, she'll stop testing you in that area. And then she'll start testing you in other areas. Or she's already testing you in multiple areas, right? And one area you see the test stopping, but another it's not.
Yeah, and it's that journey around safety and security for her, right? She's looking for safety and security. She's been with you for X amount of years. Maybe you initially provided it in the early days, and then you got lazy, you got distracted, you got kids in the picture, you stopped paying attention, and you stopped providing that safety and security for her. And now, as a result of this work you're doing, she's still looking for safety and security. She's still on the hunt for the same thing that she's trying to get rid of you for, because you didn't fulfill, you didn't make her feel safe and secure. So she will continue the tests in order to achieve one of her needs, which is safety and security. And it's not just the physical safety and security. Hey, if somebody comes through the door, yeah, I know my husband's gonna take them down. That's not enough. It's what we're talking about. And another component of the emotional safety and security. So as I said, all the tests are driving her towards, hey, am I gathering enough data where I'm starting to feel safe and secure? This isn't just a fad. This isn't just a 2-week thing. As Andrea said, this new version is a version that I can move forward with and have her confidence in it being a new, safe, and secure place for her.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff we're talking about, I know can be overwhelming. So what I want to do is I want to throw at you, if you're new to the channel and TBH in general, the Bulletproof Man, I want to give you a training that's totally free, 45-minute training. And at the end, you can actually book a call that will go into safety and security. It will also cover other aspects like, how to identify your terms, bulletproof apologies, and a bunch of other stuff that will go into concepts in that training. Okay. It's a very packed 45-minute training. At the end, you'll get a link. If you want to book a call with one of our coaches, you can do that through that link. So I just want to throw that out there to further help you in your journey, especially when it comes to this topic of communicating with your wife, and because it can be scary, and we get that, and implementing these stuff can be also scary and weird. All right, I want to talk on other topic. Okay, why your wife lies to you, and really how to stop it. And to get this ball rolling here, first I really want to take a step back and have you understand, why does anybody lie? Never mind your wife. Like, why would somebody have a need to lie? What would be the driver for somebody not to tell the truth? I know it sounds like a silly question, but really ask yourself, because we tend to get very pissed easily when somebody lies to us. But we got to do an internal check-in as well, right? Like, wow, why does somebody lie? What's driving them? Now, typically, there are two reasons. One, they're insecure and they believe that they need to protect themselves by lying, because they believe if they tell the truth, they're going to have an impact on them. Okay. Number two, um, they don't feel safe to tell the truth, which now has to do about you. Okay. They don't feel safe to tell the truth. And I'm not saying these are in steps or anything. Okay. There's just two reasons typically why people lie. One, they're insecure and they think the consequence of telling the truth will be bad for them. And then the second reason is they do not feel that you can handle the truth. They do not feel that you are going to be able to take it in a way where there's no consequence towards them. And it might sound a little bit similar, but one has to do more with the internal insecurity of the person doing the lie versus the other, where it's the receiver who's receiving the lie. He wouldn't be able to handle the truth, right? So when it's insecurity related, typically the person who's lying will have a fear that telling the truth is going to make them look a certain way. But when they're worried about how you're going to react, that has less to do with how they look at themselves. It's more about, oh my God, I don't want to tell the truth because they might divorce me, or they might yell at me, or give me all the reasons why I'm lying, and all kinds of different personality traits they'll associate with me, right? And losing trust. So ask yourself this, right? Next time you catch your wife lying, or something's going on, well, what's my responsibility in all of this, right? What can I alter? Before charging at my wife for lying, how can I look at this differently, where I can take control of some actions that I can do to address this?
Yeah, and here's the beauty of 100% responsibility, because in either of those reasons, whether it's because she lacks a certain level of confidence, or because you're not providing a safe space, your leadership actually impacts both of those things. Maybe you haven't built your wife up often enough, and as a result, she doesn't have that level of confidence. Or the flip side, hey, maybe the last time she came to you and told you the truth about something, or there's this pattern of her telling you the truth and you just losing it, and as a result, not providing the safe space. And we touched on it earlier with respect to the work we do at the Bulletproof Husband. Um, it doesn't just play out in your relationships with your partner. It plays out in other relationships. What are your kids holding back because they don't see you as a safe
Yeah,
space?
yeah,
What are people at work maybe not bringing to you because of how they fear you're going to react? Right. And that's why the benefits and the ripple effects, men, as a result of TBH and being in TBH, aren't just successful in their relationships. They start to be successful in their lives.
yeah, yeah. So true, so true. And the funny thing is that it relates back to this emotional safety and security, or emotional self-sufficiency, because if you have the opportunity to demonstrate to her that if and when she lies, you're not going to bite her head off, react, or get upset about it, because you understand why lies happen. You're emotionally self-sufficient enough that it's not a threat for you, and you're responsible enough to be in a place where, okay, I get it. Like, I like there I have a doing in why I pushed my wife to lie. There's a reason why she doesn't look at me as a safe space with whom she can share anything, right? So becoming emotionally self-sufficient is so critical in this arena as well, because then you can start to demonstrate that. So the next time, let's say she comes, let's say you knew about one of her lies and you didn't say anything, and she comes to you and discloses that lie because she feels guilty about it, and you don't react, and you, not only that, you built her up, you acknowledge, like, wow, babe, this must have taken a lot of courage for you to come with me with this afterwards. And I just want to say I really appreciate that you shared this with me, and I know it wasn't easy. Um, how else do you feel about it, right? Like, just to role play a little bit. What a big difference in the way she would receive you, and what a big deposit in the trust account for her, in her ability to then in the future continue to test, to bring stuff she's lied about, or not have the need to lie but tell the truth right up front, because she knows you are safe, you're a safe space, you're not going to be all over the place, you're not going to lose your shit, or get angry. um, it's a huge relief, right? And this will communicate that you're not a threat, right? That you can handle it, and that's what you want. That's what you want, because it's part of your job as the masculine figure in the marriage, is to be able to do that, to create that.
Yeah, and I just wanted, it's a small bit of an aside, but I just want to touch on men within our tribe having a safe space to actually not lie about where they're at or stuff that they've done in the past. Like that's all part of dealing with the emotions, right? There's so much stuff that we carry from our past, and we try to keep it hidden from other people. And in a lot of environments, we need to keep it hidden from other people. But by keeping it hidden, it just eats away at us.
Mm.
Even if it's just not eating away at us, it's baggage that we're carrying around every day of our lives. Because hey, there's no one that I can talk to about this. If I mention it to anyone, they're going to alter their judgment of me. They're going to alter their opinion of me. But we've seen it time and time again within TVH, and it's part of the culture of the tribe that we have within TVH. Is, man, here is your safe space. Here is the stuff that we can actually start opening up that luggage and looking at all the stuff that you've been carrying around, which hasn't been serving you, right? So, as I said, it was a small aside, but it's critical inside what the true masculine relationships look like within our environment of and tribe of TBH.
Yeah. Hmm. This next one. Before I go into this next one, I want to put this out there for some of you that are not used to our channel or new to our channel. We provide daily emails, guidance with daily testimonials. You can sign up for that totally free. And typically, I take a topic, a big topic, and I segment it over the course of the week, right? And obviously, emotional self-sufficiency and safety and security are a big component of that. So put daily in the comments, and I'll give you a link where you can sign up to that, and then start following us by email also, and see some of the testimonials that men get, right? Like daily testimonials. That's least we're talking about is 365 testimonials, but there's thousands. Okay, I need space. Myth explained. This topic is so cool because, and frustrating, because oftentimes your wife will tell you that I need space, and it confuses the heck out of you, because she'll tell you I need space, but then oftentimes her behavior afterwards is of the opposite, where it feels like, okay, well, you're talking to me, you're wanting me around, you're doing things that are kind of opposite to you saying I want space or I need space. Why is that? Um, and I guess, I want to have you ask a question. Are you confused because your wife said, I need space? Um, I, I'm going to make a bold statement. Okay. I need space is bullshit. It is. At least it's BS from the context of it's very narrow-minded way of looking at it. And when we're talking about I need space, or when you hear somebody talking about I need space, there's a lack of understanding of how the feminine works. Okay? Because if you understand how the feminine works, then you start to realize very quickly that I need space is only one side of the equation. Okay? We call that the push. Now, this relates back to this concept of management of the relationship. Okay? And understanding what really going on behind all of this will have you not be confused. Okay? And I want you to really understand this aspect of management of the relationship, which is her job. The way that it's your job to fulfill her emotional needs, it is her job to manage the relationship. Now, part of management of the relationship is how close or far away you are in the relationship. I need space is just speaking to how far you are. She's doing a push. She's telling you, I want to be away from you. Okay? When she wants you to be closer through her actions, she's communicating more, she's around you more, she's sharing more. That's a pull. She's pulling you in. Okay? Now, why is she confusing you? Because whether she pulls you in or pushes you away, which is part of management of the relationship, is driven by how she feels in that moment. Women feel and then act. Men act and then feel. So when she's pushing you away in one moment, it's because that's how she feels. She feels that the relationship needs distance. Okay? But 2 hours later, her feelings could alter and she'll want the relationship to be pulled back in, which means she's pulling you back in, which means that the actions she's taking is of somebody who wants the two of you to be closer. And unless you understand this can be frustrating and confusing, right? Why is my wife saying I need space, but then she doesn't leave me alone? Or why is my wife not leaving me alone and talking, and then the other, 2 minutes later, she says I need space, right? It can be very confusing and very frustrating. But now that you understand this concept of where she's doing this management from, and you're moving away from I need space to, okay, well, I get pulled in as well. This is a dynamic. She pushes me out, she pushes me away, she pulls me in. She pushes me away, she pulls me in. And it's dependent how she feels in that moment. Very powerful concept. And it alleviates the confusion and the frustration from how you look at your wife, how you look at the relationship, and what she's doing in the relationship.
Yeah, and it's the interpretation of those situations too, right? Like you can imagine a man who, got the slap, is trying to figure out, okay, what's my next move, what's my next play, doesn't have a whole lot of confidence, and hears, hey, I need space. Probably one of the easiest things for him to do in that moment, or as a result of that, is to stay in the office later. Stay in the office later, stay away from the situation, work later, not even work, just sit on YouTube and watch educational videos like this. But that's not in avoiding the situation at home isn't advancing the situation at home. And your ability to be in the situation at home is a direct result of your confidence. And the direct result of your confidence is your emotional safety and security and your emotional self-sufficiency. Right? So we touched on it earlier with respect to how stuff is intertwined. And for men, it's, hey, I want to put something in this pigeonhole, this pigeonhole, this pigeonhole, this pigeonhole. But they're all interrelated. They're all connected. So you can't just take one necessary component and ignore the other components of what you're, the journey that you're on and where we're trying to help you get to.
Yeah, it's so intertwined, so intertwined. But oh my God, when I understood this concept, like it was a total game changer. In fact, now, like, not only I see it all right away and notice it, but it's just I have chuckles of how the feminine works and how powerful the feminine is and how powerful the masculine can be when the masculine knows how to enable the feminine. So really understand this concept of management of the relationship so that you can really navigate this, right? Because management of the relationship is a bigger concept. And within that, we're talking about distance, right? There are other components of managing the relationship. One of the components is the distance between you and your wife. She manages that. And it's not just about I need space. It's about, do I push you away? Do I pull you in? How do I determine that? Based on how I feel, right? The more you are solid in how you're feeling and how emotionally safe and secure you are, the more you can influence your wife to have those positive feelings. The more positive feelings she has, the more her actions will result in a way that serves you, serves the relationship, your kids, your marriage, her, all of that. Okay? All right. Listen, again, if you want to get deep and really master these concepts, have the support of other men, and actually be in the trenches, working on yourself, creating shifts, making changes within a matter of days and weeks, join our membership, okay? Either go to bulletproofhusband.com or just put member in the comments. And what I'll do is I'll shoot you a link that will have the page where to sign up. All right. As for a video that I want you to check out, 5 skills to learn once that will change your marriage forever. Go to our YouTube channel and search this title, and it'll come up. A lot of interrelated stuff that will support what we talked about today, and will start to give you a more clear and complete picture. All right. And with that said, we're out.
Yeah, just one closing thing. There are a couple of men who joined us, watching us from Facebook. Right now, we don't have the ability to post a comment that you men are going to see. So, Brandon, I know you're interested in the book, so please just go to our YouTube channel, put comment in the chat, and we'll communicate with you there.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay,
that's all.
Okay, let me redo that, and we're out.
Later, man.
Bye.